Let's turn to California. And California seems to be a petri dish of all those ideas that the Democrats have going. So I'll read a few of the things that are happening this week in California, and you can provide us with commentary. The first thing I think is very interesting is that the federal Congress, the House, has passed a bill with for the defense budget of 1.15 trillion dollars, and in it, Donald Trump has the ability to seize property in California for oil pipeline. The property they're looking at is down near Santa Barbara.
I think it's on federal land.
Yeah, and if it's not, they have the right to buy it up, is what the bill
Yeah.
says.
Well, basically, he's saying to Californians, and I think I'm correct, that we have the fourth or fifth largest oil and gas reserves of any Monterey Shale offshore, the Elk Reserve, Naval Reserve, and near Bakersfield. So he said, "You people have the highest gas in the nation," and it's kind of a drag on the rest of the nation because you have the tech sector and you're driving everybody out and you're losing your competitiveness. And part of the reason is your fuel is so expensive and your gasoline and diesel fuel and your electricity. You're trying to get rid of nuclear. Your wind and solar doesn't work much, and you're importing a lot of energy from the Middle East that we don't like. So we would like to go in and take our federal leases and put them up. There's a lot of oil out there, and get Chevron and Exxon and pump. And there's other areas that have rare earth minerals in the desert you're not fully utilizing, and that's what he's trying to do.
All right, let's look at another story. There's a homeless group that works 17 different homeless facilities in San Francisco, and they just recently lost their funding. They were being funded at about $26,000 per inhabitant that they were taking care of, and their facilities were rife with understaffing, sexual abuse, dead and decaying body in one case, vermin infestation, broken elevators, the perfect example of how the government is not taking
The
good
left.
care.
So what happens is the government doesn't want to deal with it. So it just takes these block grants, and then somebody says, You know what? They're paying 26, $30,000, 40, 50 per person. So I'll just create a little nonprofit and I'll say that I'm taking care of people in the street. And for maybe 6 weeks, I'll do a good job. But then I don't want to get around those people. They don't bathe, they defecate on the street, they're violent, they're mentally ill. I'm just going to pay me and my family and my staff a lot of money and rip off the government. That's what they're doing. And they're not the homelessness. Gavin said if they gave him 10 billion, I think he could solve the homeless problem, and they did. And it's worse than ever.
It's worse
We
than
know
ever.
what the
Yeah.
only answer for it is to do one of two things or both. Have everybody come in for a diagnostic test and cut off the drugs. They can't get fentanyl, and either do one of two things. If they are mentally unsound, just open up state hospitals where they can get care. And if they're not, to have some kind of little village at the outskirts of town where they have, 2 or 300 foot square feet little bed and a dresser, and then they have a big group facility, shower and toilets, and make it humane. And they won't do that. That would be, Mondami said, we're not going to take people off the street. So he's got a huge homeless thing in New York. And New Los Angeles, I never I never believed two things about LA. I grew up in California, and from a little boy, there was no such thing really as downtown LA. Had the police station and a couple of government buildings, but it wasn't like San Francisco with high rises. And then in the 90s, as we came on the eve of globalization, it was a window onto China, Japan. You wouldn't believe it that you'd go down to LA in 93, 95, 98, 2002, 2003, and you there was like 20 cranes in the sky at any one time. And the city was really clean, you know what I mean? It was and they had a downtown. So you couldn't believe that. And now you can't believe it. When you go down there, there's the canteens have taken over everything, and the street merchants and these beautiful buildings that were just built 30 years ago have graffiti on them. And there's plywood on a lot of the windows where nobody wants to go. And there's you have to step over people and it's deserted. It's like kind of like Santa Monica. And anything that leftism touches, it has the unMidas touch, it destroys, and it's costing a fortune to destroy LA.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very expensive to pay homeless people to destroy things. It
It
is.
took me a second there, Victor. I'm like, "What?"
It's very
It is.
it was very expensive to let BLM and Antifa, "Do you wanna destroy the country for 4 months? Well, we won't arrest you, and we'll give you a grant. Go ahead and do it."
All right. So California voters have put a Proposition 39 on the upcoming ballot, and the state is doing everything to subvert that. So, a new story on how they've written into the voter ballots a negative summary of it, and then the informational part of it is also
Which
negative on it.
proposition are you
It's
talking?
called Proposition 39. It's a voter ID proposition.
Yes.
Yeah, so the state's trying to undermine it, in other words, by subtle fashions.
What usually happens in California is whether it was 3 strikes or ending affirmative action, gay marriage, even in its demented state now, after we've lost 12 million conservatives to out of state immigration, the people still poll they want it. Overwhelmingly, they want ID. But by the time the SEIU and the California Teachers Association get done funding it, and then all of these Bay Area and LA wealthy donors, they'll probably defeat it. And if they don't defeat it, some ninth district left-wing judge who hasn't been in the news for 2 months and thinks he's Socrates wants to be considered cutting edge and controversial, so he'll probably throw it out if it were to pass, like they did with gay marriage. We had a federal judge. We passed gay that we thought gay marriage was only between a man and a woman, and you could have a relationship legally, but it wouldn't be called marriage. And it passed overwhelmingly. And then they libeled it and said that it was because of the Mormons and Christians. But actually, the post election data showed it was mostly black and Hispanic people. And then they shut up. And the moment that passed, they sent it to a U.S. federal judge and he threw it out, and at the time, he was living with another man, so you think that he would be and when people said he had a conflict of interest, "That is the worst thing you could say. That is so homophobic. That is so homophobic." And so he threw it out, and the people's will was went up in smoke, and that'll happen with the voter ID unless it gets to the Supreme Court, if it should pass.
Yeah.
I don't
So,
like to be cynical about California, but I'm 72 and I've lived here and I've watched it deteriorate, and you wanna cry when you see what's happened to it.
well, I'm not gonna cheer you up anymore with these 2 last stories. One is that, California Pizza Kitchen, for anybody who does not live in California, it's pretty much an institution here. There's 185 stores. The owners have left California, but they also left saying it's almost an impossible business environment to do business in, and that's a big, business. And the second story is that in a small seaside town, Capitola, I don't know if he was homeless actually, a deranged man, Tyler
He
Lilbelt.
was up on felony charges, he'd been let out.
Yes, he had been let out of jail. The state also knew that he talked about having homicidal fantasies, and he stabbed to death a woman in a small seaside village that's got the 1% of the population in it.
If you were to describe the case in California ease, their language, it would be something like, "Well, a poor African American young man was only 19. And he made some few errors. He had some violent periods in his life, 19. And we decided not to incarcerate him. We convicted him of felony, and he's out now. And from all practical purposes, he's making something of himself. But Mr. Parole Officer, he went to the Capitola Mall to kill somebody, and he saw an elderly male Asian which he wanted to kill. I think he was also a racist, by the way. He didn't go after other black people, but he was afraid that the elderly Asian might put up a fight. So then he found a woman crossing the street, and he thought, she's looking at cars. I'll just follow her. 73, and it was just the classic California dichotomy. Here was a woman that was living by herself with a cat, and she was beloved. She devoted all of her times to the arts and artists. Just a wonderful person, minding her own business. And he follows her, but before he does, he goes to a shop and buys two, not one, two, because he said he liked to stab with both hands at the same time.
Yeah, so he bought 2 knives.
Two knives, and he goes out and he stabs her 11 times in the back and the chest through the heart, and he kills her. And then what will happen? He'll be out in 3 or 4 years. And this is just so there's so many areas about of California. If I can tell you that if he was a young white guy who from his parents came out from Oklahoma, and there was a wonderful beloved black artist, and he went out there and stabbed him twice, the whole state right now would be in an uproar about its racist policies, but they don't really care. There's been no big just collateral damage, just like the Sikh truck drivers running over 3 people or whatever they did in California. They rear-ended them. Oh, they paralyzed that one girl, and he only got 5 years. California is really, I think people should understand it, is a very sick society. It's the sickest society of all the states that we have, and Gavin Newsom has been an accelerant of that sickness, and it's a racist state. It has 27% of the population was foreign born, and it does not want to acculturate or assimilate or integrate them.